Hi everyone, thank you for joining our webinar this morning. MX Data is proud to announce our partnership with FoundryLogic. Dave Masser-Frye is here today to show us a demo of FoundryLogic with Retail Pro. Dave is managing partner at FoundryLogic and principal developer of Retail Mobile POS and Retail Mobile Inventory. Dave, please take it from here.
All right, great, thank you. So good morning, everybody. Going to do a demo of Retail Mobile Inventory this morning, showing it with Prism 2.1. Hopefully you all recognize Prism here on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I've got my Retail Mobile Inventory application. This is running on a shared screen from a mobile device. This happens to be a Honeywell C51 device that's sitting next to me. So you might hear some beeping in the background as I'm using the scanner. What we'll be doing today is demonstrating counting operations, counting and importing accounts into Retail Pro, different document types, physical inventory, also searching inventory, so you can do things like price checking and tag checking, things like that, and looking up information about products, including inventory quantities and things like that. So what I like to do to get started is just do a quick transaction, just so you can kind of get a feel for how it works quickly, and then we can go into more depth and features and take questions and things like that. All right. So let's start off by doing a receiving. We'll create a new voucher, and here on the right, I've got Retail Mobile Inventory. I'm going to create a new session. So imagine that I'm walking around, in the back office somewhere. We've got some items that have just come in. I need to enter those into inventory. So I'm going to create a new session and select receiving here. And then I can start scanning items. So you might hear some beeping here. And you'll see the quantities and some descriptions of the items that I'm counting here. I can even click on these and see additional information about them, scroll around here to see things like their size or various details, etc. When I've scanned everything that I want to scan, I can then go back. You can see the session I just created. This one here is one I previously created. So this one I can then hit this button here, which is what I like to call the UpCloud button. That'll upload unsent documents and counts to a service that's running in the background, from which I can then import into Retail Pro. So I'm going to say yes here, and you'll see a little check mark that indicates that it's been successfully uploaded to basically like a central dispatch or staging server, where now I can go to Retail Pro and I can select this button, which is a new button. This is part of Retail Mobile Inventory. I call it the Import Counts plugin. This plugin will connect to the service and allow you to see items that have been uploaded. So for example, here's RC11, the one we just grabbed. I can select it and then import it. And we're getting some errors because the vendor mismatched with some of the items that were there. But this is good. This shows you some of the errors that you can see. So we can have a report that will show you. We can see reports of the errors that come in, as well as see the items that were uploaded. So this item was uploaded successfully. You can see the vendor code here. If I go back to this guy, you can see some of these items came from a different vendor. So things like there's the vendor code here, like this came from Dickey, these were for Levi. So that's why we got some of these errors here. So you can see the errors, you can correct them, you can re-upload this if you want. So for example, I can remove this item and this item. I can adjust this item. Let's make the count 5, for example. And then we can upload this again. I can come back over here. We can clear this out. And we can import this again. And when you finished uploading, it offers you the ability to delete the document from the server. So if you're sure you're done with it, you can delete it, or you can leave it there and import it again in case there's any difficulty or you have a question about it, you want to come back to it later. I'll go ahead and leave that there for now, and now we can see the items with the updated counts. Okay. So it's just a very quick walkthrough of creating and receiving document, uploading into Retail Mobile, into Prism, into a new voucher, and then from here you can do whatever you would normally do in a voucher in Prism. All right. Let me stop there and see if there's any questions.
We do have a few questions, Dave. I'll go ahead with the first one. What devices are supported?
So Retail Mobile Inventory supports iOS devices and Android devices. Most modern Android devices, including phones, tablets, and scanning devices like from Zebra, DataLogic, Honeywell. There's a few others. CipherLab. They're all supported. Some of the off-brand or maybe lesser known devices, there isn't integrated scanning support. The scanner will work through a keyboard wedge integration. It won't be quite as smooth as like a Zebra, Honeywell, or some of the other integrated scanners. If you have questions about that or particular devices you're interested in, you can always contact me for any particular questions. But generally speaking, iOS and Android devices are supported.
All right, another question. What versions of Retail Pro are supported?
So I'm showing this with Prism 2.1, but it also supports Prism 1.47, Prism 2.0, as well as older versions, legacy versions, Retail Pro version 8 and Retail Pro version 9.
Great. Those are the two questions for now. If you would like to continue, we can save some more questions for later, and y'all are welcome to send in any more questions you have as we go along.
All right, great. Just shout out if anything comes in. Let's see. So let's take a little bit deeper dive into the session counting, how that works. So as I showed before, you can create sessions. There's different types. These are customizable. And you can create different naming if that suits you. We can do, for example, physical inventory. We can start counting. You can enter in counts through the on-screen keyboard. Like if I know that's a number there, I can go ahead and enter that. And then it immediately prompts me for a quantity if I have one. I can quickly enter other numbers. If I enter something that's not in my inventory, I'll be warned about it. I can add this, but it will, Retail Pro, when you upload this, may have an issue if Retail Pro doesn't know what this this item is at the time that you upload it, and you'll get depending on which document you're in, you'll see an error message or a report of unknown item numbers. So you can include these if you want, and then fix them later. You can use the scanner as I've shown before. You're pretty quick to just scan items. And you'll see that there's also a feature to group and ungroup items. So when I ungroup them, you see the items as they were scanned. So this is the original scan order here. If I group them, items will be grouped by their counts. So the order is not preserved, but it does tell you the full quantity here. And you can also sort the items when they're grouped, by their description, their UPC, things like that. You can also search for inventory. So if you've got an item, maybe its tag is scratched off or its UPC isn't readable, I can look for that item and then find it. It's some sort of loose short. Here's its here's the description. I've decided that's the one I want. I can add that one directly into my inventory just by searching as well. So if you can't scan it for some reason, or all you have is some description of it, you can still find it and add it to your inventory. All right. You'll see the keyboard pop up and out. Some devices have hardware-based keyboards, and you can certainly use those, or the pop-up soft keyboard is also usable as well. It's also possible to turn that off. You can turn off manual entry, which just saves so if you're planning on just scanning, then it gives you a little bit more screen real estate to work with. So you can scan there, and again, when you're done, you can go back and you'll see your session here that was created. We can create a new session. Again, I can scan items. Maybe this corresponds to a particular aisle, so I can actually rename this. So I'm going to tap on the name up there and call this like aisle 10. And so you can see these names will appear up here as well. And I can also rename this. Maybe this is aisle 9. Right? And so when I import these, they'll be imported with those names, which I can then use. So let's go ahead and do a PI. I'm going to abandon that that receiving. So I've got a physical inventory. Let's say I'm doing it by zones. So let's go to a PI sheet that I've created. I'm going to create a zone. Let's create a new one. I'm going to call this aisle 9. All right, and then I can select this. Now we're looking at aisle 9 here. And you can see this is just a standard Retail Pro PI zone sheet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to import now from mobile inventory. So I go back to import counts, which you'll see up here on the right-hand side. Again, you'll see these things. And you can see here's aisle 9, which I created in the device just a moment ago. And I can import that. And it's going to ask me again if I want to delete that from the server. I'm just going to say yes this time. What do we get here? We got some. So we got a spurious error message there. But you can see what we've got here is the items uploaded into the imported tab now. So I can see all the items that were uploaded, and the imported quantity, which I just did. If there were any bad scans, they would show up in here. So if there were scans that had invalid quantity, we could see them. And otherwise, this is just, again, we're now just doing straightforward Retail Pro Prism functionality. Once they've been imported, you're just going to carry through with this just like it was any other PI. Usually I stop there for any questions about this, if anybody has anything.
I don't see anything specific to this.
Okay. All right, great. So I'm not going to carry through the rest of the Prism merging process. Hopefully you're familiar with that. So again, you can import multiple sessions. You can work on multiple sessions. If for some reason this wasn't what I expected, I can clear that out, go back to the device, which you can still see aisle 9 is on there. I can look at it in history and I can say, something happened between these items that I didn't expect. Maybe this item should have had a bigger count. I can change the count and go back and then upload that again. And then I can come back over here again and then import it. Okay. So I can go back to import and we should be able to see our fixed counts. Right. So something you can do, well, you could have multiple people scanning, doing a physical inventory. They could be scanning different zones in your stores or your warehouse, and then uploading separately and individually. So they can each be uploading their zones to Prism, where you can have an operator or a couple of operators in Prism that would then be loading these sessions into your PI zone. All right. So other features that are available in here. There are some features to share a document with other people. You could email it. You can save it to Drive. You can actually share it to another device, strangely. But this gives you the ability, if you want to, just report the quantities or share the quantities with somebody else, not through the app, but just to be able to see them and look at them. Maybe you're trying to troubleshoot something, or you're trying to get it out to some other application or something like that. So you can share it. There's a report feature that allows you to email the content of this session. This can be useful if you've got an issue on the floor and you need to troubleshoot it with somebody remotely. So you can actually basically send the contents to like a manager or something like that and say, hey, take a look at these values in here, these items, they don't look right to me, or these counts look all wrong, or something like that. So there's some rudimentary communication ability that you can use to share these counts with others or get them into other applications as well. You can, on the device itself, you can delete items. You can lock them to prevent them from being edited. If you want to make sure that they're, you're pausing something, you don't want somebody to remove it. You can rename these things as well as I showed before. And that's the primary functionality for counting. And if you have any questions about that or want to see something more in depth about that, I'm happy to go into it in more detail. Otherwise, we'll take a look at some of the inventory lookup features now. So down here on the left, there's a little magnifying glass. If I tap that, now I can do inventory searches. So this might be where somebody's like looking for a size of something or a particular item to see if you have it in stock. Or maybe some simple price checking kinds of operations. So here you can scan an item and then see detail about that item, much like we saw before. The point of this, though, is to show you the information for it, and you can also tap the quantity down here and see the quantity that's available at other stores as well. So this requires you to have your quantity being communicated between your stores to or updated, relatively frequently. But it can be useful to give you, at least an idea of what kind of quantities in the store in case you're out at your store and you want to redirect somebody to another location. Okay, and this quantity is real time, so it's showing you what is known in Prism at the time you do this. You can also do keyword searches. So maybe I search by short. I'm looking for loose shorts. I have a couple different sizes of them, different colors, and I can then find it, take a look at that, and see details about that as well. Okay. One question I'm asked is about online and offline. Like, how does this work? Like, how does this know what information is available about your items and things like that? So there's a tool down here, Retail Mobile Manager, which coordinates between Retail Pro Prism and your applications, your mobile inventory apps. It's responsible for extracting data from Prism and Retail Pro and preparing it for devices. The devices can actually download it and have it available for use offline. So you can use Retail Mobile Inventory in an offline mode where if you're walking around and you don't have Wi-Fi in a particular area of your store or your warehouse, but you still need to execute a count or a PI, you can do so. The item information is downloaded to the device. You'll be able to count and see the descriptions, the quantities as of the time it was imported. And then when you are able to reconnect to your network, then you'll be able to upload item information to Retail Pro. I've also been asked, is it possible to use this without Wi-Fi? And yes, it is. You can. There are devices, Honeywell and Zebra both make base stations for their Android devices that have an Ethernet connection. So you can basically dock the device in them, and then they'll connect through the network available through the base station. So even if you don't have Wi-Fi, which happens for some reasons, you can still use this application. All right. Let's see, other things that are available through here. Installation is pretty straightforward. Your Retail Pro reseller, MX Data will install this for you. They'll help you set it up and configure it. So there's not really a lot to do there. Licensing is done through a shared licensing pool. So you'll purchase a license subscription that will entitle you to a number of essentially what I call license subscriptions. They're per device. That'll allow you to use a device, and then if that device is, let's say, lost, stolen, or damaged for some reason, you'll be able to transfer that license to another device at no cost. It could even be from iOS to Android, or from Android to a new device. So if you're upgrading devices, you'll be able to move your licenses between the devices, again, at no additional cost. You can even share devices between stores. So if you've got, let's say, 5 stores, you can install all the software to each of the store and have it ready to go. When you move between stores, you can simply just configure the host setting for the new store, and that device will then connect to that store and use that store's data, inventory information, and upload to that store. So you can move, if you have 5 stores and you have 2 devices, you can move those devices around between stores. And there's a lot of flexibility for that. There's a few other settings in here. Not a whole lot is very interesting in here. There's a setting for the lookup order, which is just how it resolves item numbers. This should be just set to match whatever's in Retail Pro for consistency. You can consolidate, which just means how do you want counts to be sent over. Like compact would mean like kind of grouped, where every line item is the total count of that item. Or same as last is where basically it preserves the ordering and just sort of summarizes the count. So each line represents the count of that item until you change it. So it's kind of a medium between no consolidation, which would be like a historical view. Then there's the internal scanner mode. Usually you won't need to change that unless you have some special circumstances, and then the license status, whether you're licensed or not to use the device. So not a lot to see there. You can test the connection to your server if you're testing or reconfiguring this and you're trying to determine do I have any issues in the network. Otherwise, there's not much to show there. All right. So we talked about counting, different document types, like physical inventory, receiving, transfers. You can then count. You can upload that item in that session into Retail Pro. The plugin works with different document types. So, for example, you can go to point of sale. You can go to a new transaction. You could import into a sale if you wanted. These documents, they give you a name and a type. They're not, strictly speaking, required to be put into those particular document types. It's all the same format. So you can import a document into a sale, for example. We can go to a store operation here. Let's look at a transfer. We could create a slip, or a transfer. We could also upload into a purchase order or an adjustment. All right, it's all the same procedure. You just look for the import count button. All right.
I do see another question. Oh,
okay,
go
good.
ahead. Okay,
Go ahead with
someone,
the question.
is it possible to try before I buy?
Sure. Just talk to MX Data. We can set you up with temporary licenses that you can use in your store, and that's not a problem at all. There's no charge for that.
Okay. I'll go ahead and say if there are any other questions, you'll go ahead and send them in. We'll give it another moment for those to come through. Do you have anything else to show us today, Dave?
No, I think that pretty well wraps it up. I mean, the application is not too complicated. It's a good thing, and most of the work is still in Prism once you've got the documents uploaded there. But having the device information, like item information that you can see in real time. So as you're scanning, you can see items that are in your inventory, items that are not in your inventory, so you can fix them right there at the time. That's pretty important. That can save a lot of time. Being able to review the counts on the devices, so if there are issues that you find, you can go back to the device, you can find it, you can fix it. You can, again, there's all the information is available. This information is also configurable. We can configure it to show UDF values if you're using them. They're necessary to display on the device. That's possible. Let's see. When it's pretty easy to clean up the transactions that are on there. When you're sure you finished with them all, you can simply delete all the saved ones. But if you've got one that you're working on, you haven't finished yet. So say I'm working on this receiving, then if I try to delete it, it hasn't been sent yet, so it's not going to remove it. That way, if you're just trying to clean up, you won't accidentally remove any sessions that you're in progress on. I think I mentioned this, you can work on multiple sessions at the same time. So I've got that receiving 14, but I can, maybe if I get interrupted, I can actually move on to a separate one and have both of them and go back and forth. All right, I think that pretty well covers it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for demonstrating today, Dave. If anyone would like to schedule a personalized demo or learn any more information, please reach out to us. Thank you again, everyone, for attending, and I hope you'll have a great day.
Bye, everybody.